you so much once again for joining us this afternoon. Today's webinar is around tourism and travel green lung, which Akash and Craig will unpack in more detail for you. But really today's session is around sustainability and how it's increasingly important consideration for travelers, trade partners and buyers when they consider coming to South Africa or going anywhere in the world, really. Today's session will introduce Africa's Sigma Tourism and Travel Green Lung, a practical way to help tourism businesses contribute to ecosystem restoration and carbon reduction while supporting their ESG, sustainability and stakeholder reporting objectives. We'll also explore how businesses can participate through sponsorships, campaigns, environmental experiences and bespoke impact initiatives. I'm going to introduce firstly Akash Singh, who's no stranger to most of you. Akash is the CEO of Sigma International. He's a chartered accountant by trade and business strategist with extensive experience in economic development. He's trained and mentored thousands of businesses and has held several prominent leadership positions within South Africa's business and accounting sectors. Some of you may know Akash and Sigma, especially through SATSA, as SATSA's partner through the SATSA Tourism Business Incubator. I'm also going to introduce Craig Drysdale, also no stranger to most of you, director and shareholder of Inspirations Travel and Tours. Craig brings more than 30 years of leadership experience across Southern Africa's travel and tourism industry. He has held senior executive roles across tourism and transport, including within SATSA, and played an important role in mentoring emerging tourism businesses through the SATSA SMME Incubator. I will now hand over to Akash.
Cool, fantastic. Good day to everyone. I think we've just breached 12 o'clock. Nice to have all of you here this afternoon. And today what Craig and myself are going to do is actually share with you, we're going to share with you a little bit about this initiative called the Green Lung. It's meant to be a conversation that everyone owns in tourism. As much as we started it with ourselves, together with some of the key trade associations like SATSA, like SATSA, like TBCSA. It's just a platform to have an easier conversation. It's intended to work for everyone. It may possibly not be suitable for a few organizations, but it's for all sizes of businesses, whether you're big, whether you're small, whether you're medium. I think there's a little place, and I'll share some examples how medium-sized enterprises are participating and enjoying the conversation, and the conversation not only for themselves, conversation that resonates with the travelers. So I'm going to quickly call up a few slides and just in terms of explaining this concept, because it's a newer concept. You perhaps would have seen one or two press and media releases, and I'll take you back into it. We'll talk about maybe, 10 to 12 minutes. And then I'll give Craig the opportunity, to say a few words, because he's been with us during this journey from inception. As he's being introduced, he's one of the co-owners of Inspirations Travel and Tour. At the same particular time, he's got an old track record in the SATSA ecosystem, being one of the past, presidents as well. But more importantly, as Kim has identified, the work that Sigma does, he's always a go-to person. So in setting up the Green Lung, in setting up the incubator, he was actually one of the co-founders with David and myself into it. So let me start and stop evangelizing in general. I'm going to quickly share my screen. Craig, if you just let me know if you're able to see my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
It's coming through.
Has it come through?
It's come through. Yeah, just put it into present mode.
Is it in presenter mode?
Yep, there we go. Perfect.
Cool, fantastic. Okay, excellent. So colleagues, welcome. And the conversation, it's actually a conversation just to share what we're doing. Deep gratitude to SATSA, but beyond than just this platform, they've been a sparring partner, for small and also medium-sized enterprises in building the conversation as such around this. And, this conversation started many, many months ago. I think about 3 or 4 months ago. When we asked everyone, this is what we want to do. We want to create a green lung for the tourism and travel sector. So what that means in our minds, it was something very simple, not complicated, something that relates to many of the organizations, planting a tree. And then we went to find a home where we can plant these trees. but not just any home, a home that's going to take care, make sure they're going to survive and reap the benefits of restoration. And I think the conversation is restoration element of the ESG agenda. There are one or two organizations wants to do it complicated, look at how do you take it to the next step. But for everyone in the industry, we want something sweet, something sexy to say, how do we participate? How do we get involved? How do we get our clients involved? And planting a tree and being closer to Mother Nature and planting the future is that conversation why we started this Green Lung. And we went, I think it was around about the first week of February, we went down and we engaged with Vergelyk and Wine Estate, and they're making their premises available to plant the trees initially. We've subsequently onboarded, you'll see Brahman Hills in KwaZulu-Natal. And in the next month, we're probably going to finalize one of the largest, I can't tell who, but one of the largest national parks in the provinces of Limpopo and Mpumalanga to become a beneficiary site where people can plant these trees. So very simple, very, very much in layman's terms, we're creating a conversational space around planting trees, and we're identifying custodian sites. We're always looking for other sites. So if perhaps you know a site where they have deep conservation and caring for indigenous trees. So we plant only indigenous trees, colleagues, in everything that we're doing. So this conversation started, and it was very well received when we started. We had like some of the, I think, top 50 travel and tourism that committed and flew down to Cape Town and started to plant the initial trees in Vergelyk. And I think to date we've planted 500 to 600. But from this initial conversation, we started to get other properties like Brahman Hills that have shown interest, like this big national park that has shown interest, and one or two small, medium businesses. It's like we have one in the Midlands called the Old Mushroom Farm that we've already sent 27 trees because they're deep into conversation and around their particular agenda. So as the background, has been alluded to, it's an opportunity to give back, pay it forward, which is something very important to Sigma. But we've created a conversation outside our work, and this is all voluntary, colleagues, that we do this particular initiative and picking up this conversation. And we all know that tourism depends on a natural, healthy environment and how important this is. So that's why we thought it was a great conversation. We also thought it would resonate with travelers, those that are traveling long distances sometimes and, emitting carbon and wanting to do. And we've had a few cases, Craig will explain, in the last month or two, where some of these travelers actually have been there to plant trees to mitigate or reduce their carbon, reduction as such. I also want to make everyone very aware, the ESG agenda is a very wide space. We're just focusing on planting trees for now. Even though you would have heard the word carbon reduction, that's not the intention right now. We have one or two partners that would like to do that. We're building that opportunity. But let's start small. Let's, plant a tree, with Mother Nature. Let's start that particular conversation. And you can see, as I've mentioned, the different states. And at Vergelyk, I think we've got now access to up to 2,000 hectares of starting to plant and have access to send out trees. I think it's about 1,000 hectares at Brahman Hills. They also have this big maize they're developing as part of the world record. So the trees that we've sent, the 58 trees or 56 trees that we've sent is actually going to this world record that will be launched in the next year as such. We've also have a few satellite sites. For example, we engaged with Sandy from the Old Mushroom Farm. I'm not sure if she's here. And she says, no, I really love this idea, but is this only for big, businesses? And we said, no. So we went, did a site inspection, and they had deep ethic about wanting to take care of nature. So we've started to adopt it as an ad hoc site. So we have one or two ad hoc sites. And that's where I said this conversation is not only for the big corporates to participate and donate trees. It's also for the small to medium businesses. We've had one-man businesses committing and wanting to plant these trees. So to date, we've kind of got the conversation going around some of the key stakeholders. We've got the few sites started off and selected, and we've planted a few trees. So where can this conversation fit into everyone's world? And we're very mindful everyone's world and everyone's conversation is different into it. Whether you're a travel agent, whether you want to get a traveler, we've had a few that says, oh, we want to sponsor trees. We come into South Africa from, let's just say, Sweden or Canada. We know it's a long haul flight. Hey, we'd like to do something to reduce or our carbon footprint attached to this trip. Someone that's got a deep, ethic around being responsible in the manner in which they travel. For some of the tour operators, it becomes part of the experience. We've had one recently that we've had to send, with their clients as added to their particular itinerary. And something special where you leave your legacy when you visit South Africa or you visit a particular province. We also have one or two hotels now that, for example, we're piloting at the City Lodge Hotel Group, where on their guests, they putting little bit displays where you can go a QR code and get into the website and even pay for it. Some of the DMCs are, you can look at it towards adding it into incentives or conferences, and also legacy conferences. So next month, we're planting a mini forest at Vergelyking. SATSA, you would all be aware, turned 70, and they're one of the organizations that helped us start this conversation. And on their 70 years, conference or milestone or initiative, we're planting 70 trees for the future. And these trees are donated by the members of SATSA. So very, very much, it's not a one size fits all. I think if there's an interest out of today's conversation, I'm going to explain what we do, walk through the website, drop an email, and we'll have that conversation and say if it's possible, if it is not possible. So I've got an example, just focus on the ones on the left. Those are the little displays that go and are getting the guests involved, to QR code, get to the site and pay with PayPal as an example. We're looking at larger trees, between 1.5 meters to 2 meters for the rates of success survival in these conserved areas. They cost about 600 Rand, and guests are starting to contribute and pay for trees, and we aggregate it each month. We have one or two partners that also wants us to keep a track record. So the amazing part is you actually have tangible proof to say we contributed or we facilitated 10 trees. So we have an IT company, that wanted us, when they paid and they wanted to put the reference and says, give us a record of how many they've reached out to all their clients to join this conversation. So I think we've got about 18 trees that relate. So for the terms of an ESG conversation, we can scientifically evidence, if you want to, and if you choose to use it for that particular initiative. So I was just giving you a look and feel, this is what the brochure looks like, how it goes into it, and then says, call to action, scan to get involved, and it goes to the website and to being into it. I'll give you another nifty little example, and I'm just trying to share with you how open this conversation. So Vergelyking has also now asked us, can we do a green lung private label wine? We said, fantastic. So they are pairing it, just like how Brahman Hills, as an example, is pairing it with a lunch menu. So you can come, you can have a lunch, you can plant a tree, and you can also, in one of their packages, get a complimentary green lung wine. It's actually a Vergelyking wine as well. So I think the intention, colleagues, is not to only talk Vergelyking wine, or Brahman Hills or whoever. The conversation, what we really want to say is super exciting. We're starting a conversation where big, small and medium businesses, if you have ideas, let's listen to your ideas and see how we can easily feed it in, to these kind of conversation. But at the back of it, it's a serious conversation that we want to strengthen Mother Nature. And that's the bottom line. Some of you may perhaps say, oh, wow, it's aligned to ESG. It's aligned to some of the new consumer regulations if you're a DMC. And then in time, there's going to be more and more pressure for people to be verified, whether it's fair trade, whether it's travel light or whatever. And this initiative can be part of that journey or evidence if you choose. But I think more importantly, where we're seeing the opportunity from the first 3 or 4 months of being on the ground is an opportunity where it's actually now starting to create much more memorable, guest experiences into it as well. So that's what we're doing. You can see some of the, initial partners that in some of the initiatives, or whether it was an event. I'll give an example. Europcar, they completed the incubation of small businesses. I think it was now they're up to around 28. And in legacy for the future of these businesses, they wanted to make it special. They planted 28 trees at one of the different sites. So each conversation is different, as I've explained to you as such. There is a website, and you can see the URL, and I think my colleagues, either Kim or Craig, will post it. But feel free, drop me an email, have that conversation. You can even go to the website and even, there's a platform that allows you to send an email, interest to buy a tree, or you can scan it and attach to it to say that you support this particular initiative. So what we're trying to create is a collective conversation that is owned by as many people, big, small, and medium size, and see how they can participate, whether it's you, whether it's your guests as such. So ladies and gentlemen, I know I may have perhaps spoken a little fast, but it's a simple conversation. I'm going to ask Craig to reiterate the conversation we started, and maybe as an example, Craig, to share from your particular life how you have fitted it in. How does it fit into the travelers in your DMC, and where you see the uniqueness coming across? And then post Craig, we'll just walk very quickly through the website to orientate you, and then we'll go into open discussion, questions, suggestions, and anything else that you would like to say. Over to you, Craig.
Perfect, Akash. Thank you, Akash and Kim. Just from my side, if I go into a couple of points that I put forward. So, Akash talks trees, of course, Vergelek and Brahman Hills. We've got the trees, but, what we're trying to find is we're picking up little satellite spots. And yes, it's trees per se, but some of these trees are very important. They are fruit trees, or trees that not only make the environment look good, but sometimes there's commercial things off the trees, making jams, fruits, all that kind of stuff. So there's a huge ecosystem around what we're driving through. But as Akash has eloquently said, it's all about restoration. And what we find in it is becoming a business imperative. One of the key things coming down, and probably will roll out, particularly from the European Union end of this year, is very much procurement decisions. And from a DMC, what we're starting to see more and more is that people want to travel with purpose. So people want to do these international travels, go on holiday, which is important, but they want to travel with purpose and know that, am I getting, first of all, bang for my buck, but is in that buck, is there something that is put in towards people, communities, wildlife, and environment? And of course, we play this particular Green Lung initiative plays in the environment space. And there's a lot of initiatives out there that plant trees and organizations. But I think what makes us uniquely special, that this is a SATSA, this is our Green Lung pushed by and created by Sigma, but it's a SATSA TV. So this is a tourism initiative. And as Akash said, that anybody can tap in, small businesses and medium businesses. You may not have time to get involved in CSI projects, but here's a way of just tapping in. If it's 1 tree or 2 trees or 3 trees, and getting that possible recognition if you need it for certification, which probably would definitely come in the next year or two. But I think the important thing, and just to put through, is that, tourism depends on healthy natural environments. If we're going to be in the tourism industry, and this started, and I'm going to go back a little bit to the rhinos, if we did not make the initiative 8, 9, 10 years ago on having, these kind of initiatives to save our rhino, our big 5 would have become the big 4. Today the rhino has got a chance. The trees is the environment part. So these are the initiatives that we keep. So we have a piece of Africa, or particularly in Southern Africa, and South Africa in particular, that we can sell, and we have nature, animals, this kind of stuff. So these initiatives are very important going through. Like I say, international travellers want to leave a positive legacy, and this is a big thing. So one thing we saw as a business, and I'm kind of where my Inspiration Travel and Tours at now, is that we're trying to put into our programs, and we had a Dutch group who came through a few months ago, and in their program we built in going through to Vergelegen, planting a tree. In fact, they planted quite a few trees, and these were tourism students from The Hague, and the positive thing that came out of that, a fantastic time in Cape Town, of course, in South Africa, they did Johannesburg and North Joburg, Cape Town. But the tree experience was something fantastic. They said they've got the memories in that. But what was really special for them is that those youngsters, 18, 19, 20-year-old, planted trees. And in 20 years' time, they're probably going to come back with their families or visit South Africa a couple of times and see their trees, their legacy. And this is putting it through. So as a DMC, and like you say, small, medium, big DMCs, this is a fantastic opportunity to tap in, to get involved from a campaign, put it into your programs. Vergelegen is a fantastic estate, of course, the initiative. So is Brahman Hills. The big one, I say the big one, I'm not allowed to say it, in the north will come. And what we can see from is little things popping up. We've created something at the Mushroom Farm in the Howick area. And eventually we see this green lung starting to pop up, excuse the pun, all over the place and green it from there. So I just wrote a little note here, and I just thought, just as an ending, tourism has always been about creating unforgettable memories. Green lung gives us the opportunity to create an unforgettable legacy as well. Together we can ensure that every visitor not only experiences South Africa's natural beauty, but it also helps restore future generations. And what we do now is for future generations. We've got to share. So when we planted the trees at Vergelegen, I think 3 months ago, and I think the curator said, and I said, well, how long does it take these trees to grow and do their thing? So this is something 20, 30 years. And I still turned to Akash and said, geez, we're not going to be here probably next time. But the reality is we've left a legacy, and people will leave legacy. And it's that whole making sure the legacy is left behind. But this travel with purpose is becoming more and more important. And I know for many years as DMCs and tour operators and travel agencies, greening has always been the agenda. A lot of companies have always spoken about it, and they've done this and done that. But these regulations are becoming real. They're coming fast. And it's going to be a case of, you either get involved. But don't just get involved because you want the certificate. Don't just get involved because you want to tick off a box. Do it because you're doing it for the right reasons. For the right packages. Companies that are procuring with your businesses, either from Germany, UK, America, wherever, are going to look, are you a business about just profit or about people and planet? And that people and planet and profit has always been around. It's called the triple bottom lines, but is now becoming more and more important. And what we've seen, tour operators are now starting to measure who they partner with in Southern Africa or Africa. And one of the big key measures they're looking at is what contributions. And so therefore this, and like Akash said, this is not, not the big, the be in all of this, is that this is just a start of initiative, but it has grown very quickly and very fast, and we can see it, expanding going forward. But it's just an opportunity. This isn't this is an industry initiative for you to tap in, very easy to tap in. Akash will share on the website how to go through it. And like I say, even if it's one tree, but if it's one tree and everybody in the industry just does one tree, you're looking at thousands of trees going forward. And of course, we bring corporates on board and all that kind of stuff. So just from my side, we're very excited as a business. We've done a couple of groups here. We're looking at some future groups, particularly Vergelegen and Brahman Hills in the future, but supporting all these little initiatives. And I think just to say, I think, Akash, is that if anybody's got any ideas of other little nodes that they think, okay, we're covering KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape, Mpumalanga, Popo, maybe there's something we're missing a trick, or maybe there's a community or something that, we can create another lung, engage and have a chat to us and take it from there, and we'll take it from there. Akash, I see Sue came into the room, so Sue's Tierkamp has joined us from Vergelegen, and they really were the initial partners. When we went and met with them, I think we had a breakfast, gave this crazy idea, and we thought, this is going to be a hot pitch. The Vergelegen's a lovely estate. I'm going to And actually wasn't a hard pitch at all. Wayne and Sue were so on board right from the start. In fact, we expected to be there for probably, 10, 15 minutes. We ended up having breakfast, a walk around, spent half a day, and really took that off. So I'm sure you would like to thank Sue. But, Vachelechen started this. And it just rolled into Brahman and into other little parts in that. So I think not much to say from my side. You've covered it, Akash, but just from our side, we're very excited. From this side of the fence, as a DMC working with international operators, and it's not just international, also domestic tourism, local corporate companies. There's going to be pressure on businesses to start saying, if we use this transport company, this accommodation, these guys, what are they doing for the environment? So this travel with purpose, this impact tourism, we're gonna see it accelerating in the next 3 to 5, 10 years. But that's it from my side.
Fantastic. Thanks, Craig. Yeah, I love it. How we create a green legacy. And that's what it is. Colleagues, there are other tree restoration projects. We're not competing with them by any measure. We hopefully it's targeting in the next year or two to get between 2 to 15,000 trees on the ground into it as well. But Sue, it's so nice to have you. And I don't know if you want to say anything or you can even send us a heart. Are you there, Sue? And thank you for being an incredible partner. Are you there, Sue? Okay, Sue's not there. Colleagues, Sue is feeling nervous into it. So nice to have you. Colleagues, there's a second part. Are you there?
Sue sent you a heart, so she's happy.
Yeah, thank you. So, colleagues, we're just going to move to the second part of it. I'm just moving my face.
Hello.
Are you here? Go for it, Sue. Say something.
I don't normally use Zoom, and as I'm the worst person on a computer, I'm so terrible. So I couldn't find the microphone, but I'm here. And I just want to say a big thank you to you guys. I think it is such a great initiative. As you know, when you met with Wayne and myself at the first time, we were so passionate about it because I think trees is just the way forward in nature and giving back to nature. So thank you for your passion and for you and Craig driving it. And as an estate, we are just so privileged and blessed to have you on our team. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here.
Now I've got to put it off again. Okay.
So colleagues, just also another secret. I mentioned we're very selective. We're looking for more green lungs. It's not meant to be one or two and exclusionary. So we're hoping to have many, 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 many green lungs, sometimes 2 or 3 in a province or 4 all across South Africa, even in sub-Saharan Africa. We're actually planting the seed, by the way. We're doing some work in Zimzam, bottom Mozambique and stuff. We're planting the seed and everyone wants to hear about what's happening at the Green Lung in South Africa into it. So I encourage you to reach out if it's something that you want to consider. I encourage you, as Craig says, how do you make it part of your business? But the one way, and I'm just going to quickly move now and migrate and share my screen to get a little bit more information. And to learn, if you click on the URL, it goes to the Sigma website. We've created a dedicated page, that you'll be able to see in it. Sorry, my apologies. Let's go back to the projects. Tourism Green Lung. It'll land you here straight into it. And then it'll tell you a little bit in case you want to learn more. I'm sure there'll be a summary from the webinar that Kim would share together with the recording. I'm sure if you'd want to look at it or share it with a member of the team, it tells you a little bit about the founding Green Lung at Vachelechen and Brahman Hills, and it gives you a hint that it's coming up, the new ones that are coming up as well. And then it tells you, and we keep a live count, of who are the trees, what is happening, and when was the last launch. It was a Sunday evening. That we planted, I think, 10 trees at Brahman Hills just before ATI to get the conversation going. And a little bit down, you'll see a little bit more telling you about the different estates, how they're doing it, the number of trees that are sitting planted across the networks, and who the networks are. So just a little bit information. What it is, if you need more information. And then right at the bottom, there's an opportunity to reach out on the right-hand side and the project contacts, drop me an email, or at the bottom if you want to. And coming soon, we're calculating carbon travel footprint, for the carbon traveler into it. And lastly, if you'd like to sponsor a tree. So we've kept it as, very, very simple. It's getting a lot of attention, by the way, colleagues, if I may share. So if it's an opportunity to leverage it as, for marketing, so you can see from, like News 24 has picked up on the conversation, some of the travel, the mining sector. There's a secret why the mining industry has endorsed it, because some of you may perhaps not know is that Vergelijking Wine Estate is owned by Anglo American, a global mining house, and they actually joined personally because they're super excited about this particular conversation. So if you QR code at the end of the presentation, you'll land here, you learn a little bit more. You'll also have the opportunity to buy a tree or sponsor a tree. You'll also have an opportunity to drop an email to set up a huddle and how we can engage. But I'll stop here for now. I'm just going to say, I don't know, Kim, if there's anything else you want to add, but we'll take conversations.
I don't see anything in the chat box as yet, but I will just say this is a fantastic team building idea as well. I know that we've chatted about it at SATSA, and we obviously all over the country, but if we ever had the opportunity like next month, conference-wise, it's something we would love to do together. So I think that's also something to keep in mind when it gets to the end of the year and you're thinking of your team buildings or the end of the year functions and that. I think it's a fantastic idea. And also, if you are joining us at the conference next month, and you have some extra time, we've got a fantastic car rental rate with Sani. If you want to spend a few days in Cape Town and just go at your own speed, make a trip out to Vergelijking and go plant a tree. So I think that's phenomenal too. Any questions? There's nothing in the chat box. We do have some time. If you wanted to ask that live, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask Craig or Akash any questions or throw a comment in.
Yeah. And any suggestions? And no questions, a stupid question, colleagues. And this was a harebrained idea, that started up on one of our walks, I think, with Craig and I on the beachfront. And we said we'd like to create a common conversation. And now it's happening, and it's going to go through the roof in coming months. But we wanted to share it with SATSA members. And we also, more importantly, giving you the opportunity. So it's an open door policy especially for small to medium businesses, medium-sized entities. You will craft a way how best we can accommodate you to participate.
Fantastic. It doesn't look like there's anything, Akash. I think that was crystal clear. I have shared Hi guys. Anything tree planting for Gauteng, or is it only for Western Cape? If you just want to maybe reiterate there.
Yeah. So if you're based in Gauteng as one of the members, if you identify a site, we actually don't have a site in Gauteng or that's pipeline being built, it'll be encouraging. I think importantly for sites, it would be anyone that has a deep conservation ethic, or responsibility in taking care of those trees. So absolutely, that could be an open conversation. If perhaps you're from Gauteng and you want to contribute, absolutely, you can go to the website and you can actually contribute the tree, and you can pay to have a tree planted. So we have a little group there, that's traveling from Gauteng on the 13th of August. And they were saying, they've contributed, I think it was 6 trees, and we're making arrangement for husband and wife and 1 child, from Gauteng, because they're going to be there. It's built around their travel. They contributed to go and get involved into it. So are there specific trees? Did I get that conversation right? We actually give you the choice. We target indigenous species because we don't want to plant alien or invasive species into it. And we have, when we engage with somebody, we give them a list of species, 10, 20, 30, and then says, okay, which ones would you like? Obviously, for the place where the trees goes to, like Brahman Hills or like Vergelijking, they have, certain types of trees that they like to plant, but it's a wide variety, that's available. So our job is to create the link, get the tree, get it down to Vergelijking and get it planted. And if perhaps, you're going to be in the area and it's a few trees and stuff, we'll arrange or facilitate that with Sue or Onwaba from Brahman Hills to be able to do it, or Sandy from the old mushroom farm as such. I hope that's answered the question. Did I answer the question, Kim?
Yeah, I think you are all clear. Anything else from anyone? Just a reminder, I did pop the website link in the chat as well as Akash's details. The session is being recorded. I'm sure you'd want to maybe watch back and share with your teams. And as Akash mentioned, we will do a write-up for you as well as share the recording, the presentations, and the contact details. Apex Shark Expeditions, I think this might be Natalie, has asked, what criteria are used to select a tree planting site?
Okay, so as I've mentioned, it's also, we want to partner with a site that's got conservation. They're going to take care of these trees we're planting for Mother Nature. So, for example, in the sites that we have, we only get the tree, taking care of the tree, planting, watering, ensuring, that it's protected, in a safe space, so it's actually going to survive. And there's no specific site that it has to be 1,000 hectares or 1 hectare. The site in Mushroom Farm is a few hectares, as an example. We also engage in periodically with some community or school sites. We've had requests once or twice, Kim. So we entertain it if we know that the caretaker is going to take care of the trees and into it. So it's not scientific. It's not specific. The intention is to create a movement to get trees to be planted. The intention is to put it in places that it's going to be taken care of. So even if you have a small land parcel like shark cage diving that you're operating on, and you reach out, we often get trees. We get sometimes a few trees a month to a few hundred. And if you make yourself aware and we have a conversation, let's explore it.
Perfect. Thank you. I think, Craig, you had your hand up.
Now, just to add, Kim, I think you gave a wonderful sort of idea with team builds, so, to really kick, in like say, small, medium, big businesses, to really, and we don't have to say Gauteng, but particularly KwaZulu-Natal and from a Western Cape point of view. So if you've got teams and you take your teams there for a team build to do something, that's really one of the ways of getting your teams involved and actually seeing the legacy, not just your guests coming through, but actually your staff as South Africans leaving a legacy, being part and parcel of it. That's the one part. The other part, of course, when you're building itineraries and that, sometimes don't ask the customers. Somehow, Casualty's clever accounting, building a couple of trees as part of the package is added value. We're doing a tour in South Africa, Cape Town, and we're going to Vergelegen for wine taste. Oh, and we're throwing in 2-3 trees that we're planting that you can plant as a group or a couple. And it doesn't have to be groups. It can be a honeymoon couple. Imagine a honeymoon couple going there, having some wines, canapes, and planting the trees, securing their love. One just hopes they don't get divorced later and come chop the tree down. There's so much. It is really just creating these green lungs, as many green lungs, indigenous green lungs as possible. But the key thing also, the criteria is making sure that it's adding value to the environment, to the people, to the this and that. And of course, it's looked after. Remember, we're just the custodians now, but we've got to hand it on that the custodians after us manage it and look after it going forward. But fantastic idea.
Cool, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. And just deep gratitude to everyone for taking the time, to listen. This conversation belongs to everyone, small, medium, large. And just, drop us an email and pick up the conversation. Great ideas. And we want to make you part of the Green Lung Initiative.
Thank you, everyone. Well, I will close off today's session. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us. And as committed, we will be sharing the recording and resources with you, hopefully by the end of the week, latest Monday. Thanks to Craig and Akash as always. Have a good afternoon.